Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. Y'all already know the routine. We'll be right back in 30 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Scoreboard Keepers. You're around here, we don't keep receipts. We keep the score. So if you want to get on the board, make your point. If it makes sense, we'll add it to the board. If it don't, we won't. Scoreboard Keepers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. I am your host, the Ref, where I keep the score in everything sports, hip-hop, and hot topics. And you guys already know we got a hot one today. Is Patrick Mahomes still the best quarterback in the NFL? Is he still the best quarterback in the NFL? It seems to be a topic of debate, and we're going to score it here on the Scoreboard Keepers between Dan Orlovsky and Damien Woody. So without any further ado, let's get right to it.
In their late 20s, ready to seize the day, and they're coming after him, and they're getting closer.
Dan Orlovsky, is Patrick Mahomes still clearly and obviously the best quarterback in the NFL?
No, I mean, Patrick, out of that group of four, the top four, he was fourth last year in the league when it comes to just watching them play. The gap has never been this ridiculously big gap when it comes to Patrick, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. All three of those guys had better seasons last year than Patrick did, yes. But there is the reality that Patrick, not once, not twice, but 3 or 4 times, has played his absolute best when it's been needed the most. Those other three guys haven't necessarily done that. And so is Patrick the best at the position? He's still the top dog when it comes to you got to go be your very best when it's needed the most. When it comes to the ability to play, those guys have always been kind of nipping at his heels. Josh Allen's coming off the best season of his career and an MVP. Lamar Jackson's coming off of probably the best season of his career and arguably could have been the MVP. Joe Burrow's coming off of the best season of his career. So the gap has never been that big. But the difference is those three haven't been their very best when it's been needed like Patrick has.
Damien, why aren't you so quick?
That's good points. He made a lot of good points, but it still wasn't very clear. He made some very, very, very great points. Now, Patrick Mahomes is one of them guys where it's been hard to really judge how great he can be. We don't even know if we've actually seen the best of Patrick Mahomes. Let's just be real. Have we seen the best of Patrick Mahomes? Because they've been playing, touch and go with his wide receivers. They've been playing touch and go with his wide receivers. He gets a good one and it's gone. He touches another one and it's gone. He touches another one and it's gone. So we haven't really seen Patrick Mahomes really with his ace receiver since Tyreek Hill. And we will never know how great that duo could have been. That duo, in my opinion, could have possibly been the best wide receiver quarterback duo in the history of the NFL if they would have stayed together. They were on the verge of doing something special because every time the cheetah touches the ball, he has the capability of taking it to the house. So it'd be very interesting right now to see what would have happened if they would have just stayed together throughout their careers and ended up retiring together. There's no telling what that team could have possibly done. So I'm not even sure, to be honest with you at this point, if we've actually seen the best of Patrick Mahomes. We've seen him be the best at what he has. But have we really seen him be the best Patrick Mahomes? That's a question you have to answer yourself. So good points by Dan Orlovsky. So let's see what Damien Woody has to say.
Quick to dethrone Mahomes. Like everyone knows that those other three quarterbacks are coming in the AFC, but you have a different take on this thing.
Dano listed all these things about those other three quarterbacks, but who represented the AFC in the Super Bowl?
Sure.
With arguably the worst offensive cast in the Patrick Mahomes era. Think about it. Okay, we got a diminishing Travis Kelce. We had offensive line issues, a guard playing tackle, for the Kansas City Chiefs. The weapons of Hollywood Brown being injured, all these things. Rashee Rice breaking in a rookie wide receiver. Yeah. And all Patrick Mahomes did was take the Kansas City Chiefs to the Super Bowl. So, yes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, all great quarterbacks.
Do you want to close more deals as soon as next week, possibly? Now,
Damien Woody.
Here's what I mean.
Damien Woody is cooking.
But you have to climb Mount Mahomes in order to get there. And now I haven't seen it yet. You got to go out there and show me.
But that's what makes the conversation at least relatively interesting is specifically Josh and Lamar. They've played themselves into the category, the burden, the weight of it doesn't necessarily really matter that much anymore how great you are in the regular season.
No doubt.
You got to go get it done, and you got to go beat Patrick when it matters the most. So, Josh.
But Dan, they haven't done it. The only one that has done it is Jalen Hurts. And it's an asterisk by that one because they had to go assemble one of the best teams. It had to take something miraculous for Patrick Mahomes to be dethroned. It had to take some miraculous moves for that to happen, meaning the New York Giants had to do something crazy like getting rid of Saquon Barkley and sending him down the highway. It really had to take that. Take Saquon Barkley away from that. Take that move away. Take Saquon Barkley away from the Philadelphia Eagles. Could they have beaten Patrick Mahomes? We won't know. Damien Woody made some great points. They had to break in a rookie receiver. Hollywood Brown was hurt. Rashee Rice. Like I said, we don't know if we've seen the best of Patrick Mahomes. We've seen Patrick Mahomes be the best at what he has to work with. That's what we've seen. We've yet to see him with a receiver of the caliber of Tyreek Hill since Tyreek Hill left, but that didn't stop him from winning. And he also mentioned a decline in Travis Kelce. And that's even up for debate too, because I don't think Travis Kelce is really declining. He has a lot going on in his life, and I don't know if if his game's really declining like that. But we'll see this year. Let's continue.
Who was sensational last season, and then Lamar, who was great last season. Even they're 0-3 in the AFC title games. They got 3 MVPs between them, and they're 0-3 in the AFC title games. And so there is something to be said for while their play.
You're scoring points for Damien Woody right now. Because if they're 0-3 and they can't get past Patrick Mahomes, then you're actually making his case. You're actually making his case for Patrick Mahomes being Mount Mahomes. You're making his case right now, Dan Orlovsky. Yeah, you're making his case.
You can make the argument that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in football when it comes to a certain style, or Lamar. You have to play your best.
No, we can't make that argument. We can't. We can't just go by just because. Listen, Joe Burrows has Jamar Chase, so we cannot make that argument. And as a matter of fact, for you trying to make that blanket statement, I'm deducting a point, Dan Orlovsky. You have a point reduction because everybody seems to forget that they have a lot of money, $100 million plus in wide receivers. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are the best tandem in football. They're the best tandem in football. And Jamar Chase, top receiver in the NFL. So we can't say that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in football. Because guess what? I may be the best quarterback in football if I could throw to them too. Now, I'm not saying he's not talented. But to say that he's the best quarterback in football with what he's working with, imagine Patrick Mahomes with them too. It would be illegal. So deduction of the point for you, Dan Orlovsky. Sorry.
When it's needed and beat Patrick when it's win or go home. And until they do that, as much as I love them, they can't dethrone him. But they don't get into the conversation with him truly until that happens.
It gets a little murky because you're talking about individual quarterback play and then team results, right? You're saying, well, also the Chiefs defense stopped Josh Allen at the end. So it becomes a different conversation. But Jeremy Fowler, I ask you, if you were to pick one person right now and you were to say one name, who is playing the quarterback position at the highest level as we enter the 2025 season?
Yeah, Peter, the people I've talked to around the league firmly believe that Joe Burrow is playing the.
See? Now, I couldn't wait. I was just waiting for this because now you're weighing in on the debate, right? And you're talking about what people around the league are saying, and you went straight to Joe Burrow's after what I just told you. Joe Burrow can barely make it out of the AFC North. Joe Burrow has to win the AFC North before you can even be in this conversation. We don't care about what everybody else is saying around the league. He has to win his division. We don't care that he plays well against the Kansas City Chiefs. He has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And that's something to say for it. You can't just dismiss them two. They're two of the best receivers in the league. They are two of the best receivers in the league, and they're arguably a defense away from making it to the Super Bowl. They're arguably a defense away from making it to the Super Bowl, but they can't because they have so much money tied up in their offense. So I'm not going for this Joe Burrows thing. I'm not going for it. It can't stand. It don't hold any weight over here at the Scoreboard Keepers.
Quarterback position the best, but he's not the most feared. Those other quarterbacks we're talking about, their fear factor is thick when you go against coordinators. How are we going to stop them not only with their arm, with their mobility? Burrow doesn't quite.
Right, because when the other teams play them, their goal is to stop that quarterback. When they play the Cincinnati Bengals, their goal is to stop Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, not Joe Burrow. They already know what Stop it. Joe Burrows is still making his bones in the NFL. Let's be clear. Everybody's trying to make him out to be this Tom Brady type of guy, but he's still making his bones in the league. Like I said, when they play the Cincinnati Bengals, their goal is to stop Jamar Chase because everybody sees what he does when he catches the ball and what he does after he catches it. Okay? Everybody sees it. Everybody knows that. That's the difference. And you got that look in your eye, my guy. I'm not falling for it. We're not going for that over here at the Scoreboard Keepers. Okay? The goal for defense when they play the Cincinnati Bengals is to stop Jamar Chase and do what you can to do anything you possibly can because he runs great routes. He has great hands, and he seems to always be open. That makes life very easy for Joe Burrows. Look what happened when T. Higgins wasn't there. And look what happened when T. Higgins came back. Just look at last season. Look at the difference between Joe Burrows when T. Higgins came back and when he wasn't there. And look at what Jamar Chase was doing without the other threat over on the other side of the ball. He was still having a great year without even getting any attention on the other side of the field. So, no, we're not going for that.
Have that. But when we're talking about decision making, accuracy, eye level, all the nuances that my guy Orlovsky loves, people around the league believe that Burrow is the very best at that. And look, are they wasting his talent in Cincinnati? I don't know if they're quite there yet, but the pipes are bursting a little bit. They're always putting out leaks or holes in Cincinnati, whether it's the O-line or the bad defense. But they have a quarterback that can win it all for them and win an MVP. He looks primed for it.
I think if you're Cincinnati, you don't want people to look back years from now upon Joe Burrow's.
Look at how open his receivers are. Do you see the separation that his receivers have? Every throw that you just saw that was highlighted was to a receiver that was just basically wide open. Their receivers are great. And they do not get enough credit. But guess what? Over here on the Scoreboard Keepers, they will. Because I believe that if Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow traded places, he would not have as much success. But Patrick Mahomes with them two jokers right there would do something that the league has never seen before.
On there and be like, and have very similar feelings to what people did with Matthew Stafford in Detroit. I mean, Joe Burrow was the third quarterback ever to throw for 40 touchdowns and miss the playoffs. Breeze and Marino did it. I mean, they were 3-4 in games that they scored 33 last year. So no question he's playing it as good as anybody. That being said, they are wasting it. I said it last season. They're wasting not only Joe, but Jamar. And so that's, again, who's playing it the best? As great as Joe was last year.
Christina Ladd posted at McDonald's
Dan Orlovsky, you can't spit it out.
About how I never had a snack wrap.
Dan Orlovsky, you can't spit it out. It's hard for you to get it out. It's hard.
I'm devastated. Imagine tasting the snack wrap for the very first time. In ranch or spicy?
You can make the case that there was the slow start as a team. And so you got to get past that.
And like, listen, if you're asking me who's playing the quarterback the purest out of everyone, it's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. I'm talking about, we can get into the whole, okay, who's playing above the X's and O's, who's doing all that.
But that has to matter.
But I'm talking about from the neck up,
Mm-hmm.
diagnosing, playing with accuracy, with anticipation, all of the. Give me Joe Burrow. Give me Joe Burrow.
Here's my pushback to that. I do think that we as a football world have to stop just constantly saying from the neck up, because quarterback nowadays isn't just from the neck up. And there's a priority that has been placed upon your ability to get yourself out of bad and make good or be utilized as a threat athletically that is different than it was 20 years ago. So neck up is part of the equation. It's not the only one anymore. Joe has two elite receivers. Lamar's got a ton of weapons. You can make the case that Josh did more with less last year.
I was going to say Josh was the MVP last year. We're not even talking about the
Lamar
MVP.
could have won it and Joe could have won it.
But they didn't. Josh Allen did.
Totally. That's why we're in an era right now that is nuts.
In New York City, we're having a ball over here. Time for Monday.
Dan Orlovsky, you made a push at the end, but you didn't make it up. You made a great push. Listen, Dan Orlovsky, it was your point deduction. It was your point deduction that cost you this victory. The victory goes to Damien Woody over here at the Scoreboard Keepers. You came up a point short, man, because of your point deduction. You started cooking at the very end. You started cooking. You were making all kinds of points because you're right. Josh Allen did more with less. And you started making more sense. And you even admitted to Joe Burrow having two elite receivers, which some people don't have. Some teams don't even have one. So you were doing great, man, at the very end. I would call it in the fourth quarter. That's why they call it fourth quarter drama. But this victory today, which Damien Woody didn't waste no time on you. What he did was he came out and he got right to the meat and potatoes. And he started making points about climbing Mount Mahomes. And over here at the Scoreboard Keepers, we also believe that you have to climb Mount Mahomes. We believe that a player like that, you have to prepare for him, which a lot of teams do. You have to prepare for him because I've seen him do a lot of things with talent I never thought he would do with. I never thought that he would do things with certain type of receivers, and it wouldn't matter who you would stick in there. You could stick anybody up. You could stick anybody in that offense. And he would make a way for them to get open. So you gotta give him credit for that, because that's not by accident, it's by design. It's not by accident, it's by design. If that makes any sense. So I'm looking at this situation and I'm thinking about Juju Smith-Schuster. That's who I'm thinking about in particular, because Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't that great as a Steeler. And he wasn't that great as a Chief, yet he made it work. We never seen Juju Smith-Schuster run away from anybody. He was just finding windows, getting open, and catching balls. And that's the goal of sort of like Travis Kelce. But Travis Kelce happens to be a dynamic tight end. and he can do many things, and he's a mismatch nightmare for certain defenses because linebackers can't cover him. It's just that simple. That's why he's always open, because technically he should be being covered by a defensive back if you really want to stop him. But that's hard to do, man. It's just really hard to do. So congratulations to Damien Woody for coming out the gate and jumping on Dan Orlovsky earlier, because Damien Woody, you are the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode of the Scoreboard Keepers. Ladies and leave your comments down below. That's what I need you to do. Leave your comments down below on who you think is the best quarterback in the NFL. And do you think it's Patrick Mahomes? Do you think it's Patrick Mahomes? Do you think he's still the greatest quarterback in the NFL? I mean, obviously it's up for debate. Why? Because he didn't win the Super Bowl. He went, but he didn't win it this time. And now it's a debate on whether he's the best. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm going to hop in those comments. I'm going to respond. I need you guys to let me know, though, because I know people are going to have different perspectives all around. And he may have not even mentioned a few that Justin Herbert, Justin Herbert's a good quarterback, but he just can't get over the hump either. There's a lot of good quarterbacks out there. And I noticed he didn't even mention Jalen Hurts. Did you guys notice that? He didn't even mention the Super Bowl winner. So leave your comments down below, man. Make sure you guys thumb up the video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. Congratulations, Damien Woody. Woody, you are the winner of today's Scoreboard Keepers debate. Congratulations. We'll see you on the next episode, ladies and gentlemen.